You're listening to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about how we game.
Thanks for joining in to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about
how we game.
In our viewer call-in show, Thursday nights, 9 p.m.
He's Carlos.
And he's Rob.
There you go. Thought you were going to forget that.
No, not today. Not today.
I'm going to get it right today. All right.
Yeah,
All right. Good.
Welcome in. We'll put the phone number on the board.
There we go.
So for you folks, you can see the phone number 813-618-7099 is our number. Our call-in show today is going to be about newbie mistakes in tabletop gaming.
There you go.
So that's the topic, but you can always choose to just ignore our topic and do whatever you choose.
Yep. If you call in, you have control of the floor. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about, whether it's a game, whether it's a topic, whether it's something hot going on in the industry. We're open to chit-chat about whatever.
That's right. So you just talk to us about what you've been up to, games that you've played, games that you've acquired. I'm going to open up the phone lines now, 813-618-7099. Rob and I are just going to chit-chat about board games and our topic today. But, Rob, let's just start off real quick. What have you been up to gaming-wise?
Well, the main thing I've been up to recently, I talked about this on our last show last Thursday, is that I had picked up a copy of My City. And I know during that show I tried to explain My City on about 3 or 4 different occasions. And fortunately, we got interrupted by some by phone calls, which was always awesome.
Yes.
But over those little 5-minute segments in between our phone calls, I got to talk a little bit about the game and explain it to you a little bit. When I talked last time, I think I mentioned that the game is divided into, they call them episodes, and it's a series of 24 episodes to play the whole game. And we had played 3. We is me and my teenage kids, 17, 15, RB and Emmy. We had played the first 3, but the game is divided into, I guess, what you'd call chapters. Every 3 episodes, you open an envelope, and it gives you some new rules. It gives you some new things. I'll be vague about it, but some new elements for the game to change the way the game plays, changes the way you score, changes your objectives, changes a little bit how you play the game. And since last week's episode, we have played 5 more. So we're now through 8 of the 24 sessions. And through the first 3, the game was pretty light. It was pretty easy, I'll say. I had a friend of ours, Mike Lorenzo, mentioned to me when I posted up on our game group that the family was enjoying it. It was a light family game, and he made a comment that he had heard, he hadn't played it, but he had heard that when you open that first envelope, or officially the second envelope, when you get past episode 3 and they start adding more elements in, that the game really gets interesting. And I will 100% agree with that. When we opened that second chapter of episodes for games 4, 5, and 6, it really did some neat stuff. And now we've opened another envelope.
Well, walk me through some. Okay, so you're talking about the envelopes, you're talking about the game, but get in my mental mind, my image. How do you play the game?
Well, again, it's a polyomino, so it's kind of like little Tetris pieces. You've got cardboard pieces that are like extra
shapes,
squares, different shapes, and
like Tetris.
And you've got a board that everybody is identical between the three of us that are playing. You can play 1 to 4 players. Actually, 2 to 4 players. I'm sorry, I don't think there is a solo experience. We can play 2 to 4 players. So me and the 2 kids, the oldest kids, are playing. So we've got 3 of us playing. But there's a deck of cards that represents, has a card for each of the polyominoes, each of the domino tiles that you have in your stack. And so everybody's got an identical set of these tiles. And so what you're doing is it plays very quick. Each episode's maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes. You just flip a card, and everybody has to find that shape in that color. There's 3 different colors.
Okay.
And you have to find the shape that matches that color and then place that somewhere on your board. And there's rules about where you can place, like down the middle of the board, there's a snaking river that kind of goes back and forth between the tiles. And it roughly divides the main playing board, into a 2/3 section and a 1/3 section.
Okay.
But the first rule of the game is your first polyomino, the first piece that you have to place, has to be border the river. So you're always starting somewhere pretty much in the middle of your board. Then as you keep flipping cards, every tile you place after that has to be placed has to have a side touching a tile that you've already placed. And so in the first couple episodes, all you're doing is you're trying to play as many as you can. The game, each of the episodes.
And these tiles represent like buildings, houses, homes.
They're all like they're high level aerial views, so you kind of can't make out details, but there's one that looks kind of like a farm, one that looks maybe a little bit like a library or something, but they're aerial, so you're looking mostly just down at the roofs, so it's really hard to tell exactly what they are. Again, not important at all to the game, but you're just kind of building a little community. You're building a little city, a new community, a new settlement.
Yeah. That's important to the game, Robert.
Yeah, that's a little theme.
Theme.
I hate theme, but yeah, we can go there with theme. So you're placing those in, and then there's on one side there's a forest area that kind of snakes and goes wider. It gets thinner, so it makes it so your playing area is not a perfect square. On the left side there's a mountain range that goes along, and you can't place your tiles on the mountains or any of the forest or anything like that. So it kind of restricts as you start building out from the center. As you get closer to the edges of the board, you've got uneven areas that now you're trying to fit the right tiles into the right areas. And so the game, each episode ends in one of two ways. Either you play all the way through the deck, if everybody plays through and is able to place all their tiles, or go through all their tiles, then the game will end after the last card is flipped, and then there's a scoring mechanic, and the scoring changes from game to game on what you score, how you score. There's some little features. There's rock outcroppings that you can place tiles over, and if you don't cover rocks, then you get negative points for every one you didn't cover. There's little single trees or double trees that aren't actual the forest. The forest is big, thick, heavy trees. But the trees, if you don't cover trees, you get positive points at the end of the round.
Okay, so ugly rocks, bad.
Right.
Beautiful trees, good.
Good. Save the trees, kill the rocks. Yeah, cover
Theme.
the rocks. So, yeah, a little themey. So, so you're doing that, and then the other way that it can end is as you play, if a piece comes up that you don't want to place, everybody has a scoring track that goes around the outside of their board.
Yep.
You always start on 10 points, and if you ever don't want to place a piece or can't place a piece, you can choose to either take a -1, flip the tile over, and not use it, and keep playing. Or at some point, you can choose, if a tile comes up that you can't or don't want to play, you can say that you're ending, you're not going to play this episode anymore. You don't take a -1 for not being able to place that one, but then you don't get to play as the other players continue flipping. So the ways it ends is all three people get to that pass point where they don't want to play any more tiles, or if you go all the way through the deck. And then, again, at the end, you always score. It's a legacy game, so I don't think it's giving anything away to say that you're going to change your board as you go. There's stickers and things as you open up envelopes. You're going to sticker different things on your board. The objectives are going to change. You're going to have features now that you get points for having just a couple things. I won't give all the details, but one of them, if you have all three different colored buildings surrounding a feature, then you're going to get bonus points.
Kind of like Calico and
Exactly.
with having different colors around different objectives.
Exactly. Yep. Just different ways of laying out your tiles and things, and then. So you're going to get points in lots of different ways, and it changes. And I hear it's starting to get a little heavier. It's starting to get more complex. My oldest thought it was very light the first three that we played. He's like, "Oh yeah, this game's all right. You know, it's pretty easy." And he actually won all three of the first three games. And there's a scoring track at the top, a permanent marker track that you mark in circles. And at the end of the 24 episodes, whoever has the most circles colored in is the one who wins.
So it's a full-on legacy game.
Right. It's a legacy game. You can only play through once on one side. The other side of the board is a more generic board that you can play over and over and over again, so that there is a second side, so it makes it continuously playable. But one of the thing I don't think I mentioned last time that's really unique to the game, that's very cool, is that the winner of each game gets to fill in 2 circles. The player who comes in second fills in 1 circle, and then if you're playing a 3 or 4 player game, the third place player and the fourth place player usually get a sticker that they can put on their board that gives them a handicap. It actually makes their board better for the next game. So the more games you win, the game gets harder. Like in the first couple of games, again, not giving anything a secret later on away, but in the first couple of games, if you finish third or fourth, there is a sheet of stickers that you take off a tree sticker, and you can now place a tree sticker somewhere on your board. So now you've got a potential 1 more point than the person who won, because you've got 1 more place with a tree on it.
Because covering the tree doesn't lose you a point.
Right. But if you can not cover it, then you get a positive point at the end. So it just gives you, it's a little bit of a handicap. So my son, I explained to both my kids before we started, I told them, I said, I heard about in this game, you don't necessarily always want to win. And my oldest, my 17-year-old's like, no, I want to win every one. I want to pound y'all into the ground. I've got this. And he won the first 3 in a row. So he was up 6 to my daughter had gotten second twice, and I had gotten second once. So he had 6 circles filled in. My daughter had 2, and I had 1, but we had started stickering other stuff on our board, and then he quickly learned by episodes 4, 5, and 6 that he was at a disadvantage.
Oh, yeah.
Because of all the stickers and things we had placed, and so he's, I think, won 1 of our last 4 or 5. So
oh, wow.
It's flipped around now, and that's what I'd heard about the game, is that there is a bit of a. I think
is it too much of a catch up mechanic?
Some would argue that. I would think some.
Like, is it
would
too
say that.
heavy-handed?
So I've heard from people who have played all the way through. I've seen online people posting that after the 24 episodes, usually the scores are very tight by the end of it. So the game kind of does a really good job, and I think it purposefully does that. I mean, if my son spatially, obviously, and he likes those kinds of games, spatially, he really can do that. And the first 3 times we played, he placed every tile on his board, and he didn't even have to pass. And then me and my daughter had to like throw aside 2, 3, 4 tiles each game. And so he was really just killing us in those games. And then he was getting all smart and happy and cocky about it, and
he is a Childers.
Exactly. So he has learned, and so now we are giving it back to him as he's been losing more recently. But it's a really fun game. It's one I would definitely suggest for definitely a family type.
So like a family legacy game.
Yep, exactly. It's the first real good family legacy game I've played. So
I want to hear more as you keep playing how the catch up mechanism ends up being at the end.
Yeah.
Will RB have a chance to fix some of that, zest that he had?
And by him not winning the last 4 out of 5, he now has started doing some things, and it was actually funny. Again, I got to be careful what I say, but there was an additional piece that we get in one of the envelopes that it's got printed on a little 3, and so it gives you 3 bonus points if you use it the right way during the game. But the loser of episode, I think it was 5 or episode 4, got to put a little sticker on it that made that tile, if you completed the objective, it goes from 3 points to 5 points. He lost that first one, so he had to sticker. In his mind, he said, I don't want to sticker this stupid thing. I'm not ever going to use it. I'm not ever even going to try to complete that objective, and I'm just going to, it's just stupid. It's just wasting a sticker. But we told him, you have to sticker it anyway, so we made him sticker it. The last game we played, he had to from behind win because he used that, got the bonus points for it, and it ended up beating us. And so I had to put it back to him. I was like, oh, yeah, it doesn't make any difference. Something you're not going to use. He's like, well, I didn't intend to, but it just worked out that way. So it was kind of funny. But
now, when you talked about opening envelopes, I interrupted you at that point,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the opening envelope piece, what kind of stuff does it change?
Again, it usually adds. I think everything we've seen, the 2 additional envelopes. When you play episodes 1, 2, and 3, you do open an envelope. They start you in an envelope, but it's just the basic rules. You're not really doing much at that point. 4, 5, and 6, and then now 7 and 8 have added new rules and new possible scoring mechanisms to what was already there. So the game is getting bigger and bigger. And again, as you kind of mentioned,
but the board doesn't change.
Right.
No, the size of the board.
The size of the board is always the same. And so there was a neat twist in the last one we played that actually kind of changed the way you play the game a little bit. And again, I can't give away much more than that. And I actually just read today somebody commenting, I'm staying away from spoilers even when I read, but I read today somebody mentioned the last 3 episodes. And I saw a little thread about it that actually several people have commented the last 3 episodes kind of, I won't say ruined the game, but because there is supposedly a huge change in the way the last 3 episodes are played that fundamentally changed your whole approach to the way you score, the way you play it. And so a lot of people have said it was really good up until that last 3 episodes. Or I've seen several people have said that. So
they went Game of Thrones.
They went something big time.
Ruined it at the end.
So I have no idea yet what it is. So I'm waiting to see what pops up. But yeah, again, it's a good time so far. But I'll keep filling you in as we go week to week as we get done with it. But the other thing about it is the kids have actually picked up excitement about it. I was almost kind of I was trying to play 1 episode a day, and I was almost kind of having to drag them into it. The first couple episodes, they liked the game, but they weren't excited about it. The last 3 times we've played has been, as soon as I mention it, the kids are, yeah, let's go play. So they've really gotten into it. Yeah.
Well, folks, don't forget, phone lines are open. 813-618-7099. That was Rob talking about one of the games he just recently played.
Yeah. How about you? Yeah, what's up?
So I got some gaming in this week with William.
Okay.
So William came by. We played 2 games, so both cooperative.
Okay.
So it was kind of a chill day. We had on the docket was Paleo.
Oh, okay.
So it was the first game we played. Zman Games, Paleo.
Yeah.
It's a cooperative, full co-op, if you want to pull it up.
Yeah, I'll pull it up here.
Beautiful game. So it's a full co-op adventure game is the way it's described.
Full co-op adventure game. Okay.
And I wasn't sure how that was going to work out, but you're playing the role of cavemen or early humans. Here, Rob's got it on the screen for
got
us.
the BGG page here, so we'll take a look at it as you talk about it.
Yep. All right, so there it is, 813-618-7099. I'm going to take the phone number off. Oh, look at that.
We got a caller.
Someone heard me.
Yeah, there we go.
Hey, caller. State your name, where you're calling from.
Carlito, this is Nick Oben, Wesley Chapel, Florida.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Nick. How you doing, buddy?
Outstanding, my man. Outstanding. I just finished my first league night of axe throwing.
Oh,
I'm feeling
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
League
Yeah.
night of axe throwing.
Axe throwing.
Yes, yes. I have been waiting for this actually for a while. Not board game related, I know. I'm sorry.
Well, how did you do?
I'm just.
That's still competitive.
I did well. No, it was great. It was a lot of fun. First night, so some jitters, but my average score was acceptable, and I increased my score throughout the night. So that's always good.
Cool.
Now, are we talking about the one right next to your turn?
No.
No, that's it's right next actually to my house up here at the Grove.
Yeah, over the
Okay,
Grove.
closer
Yep.
by the Grove.
Yep.
Yeah, there's your turn has one near them. I can't imagine what a critical failure would look like in that kind of game.
No, we don't want to imagine that. Yep.
It could be a legacy game, like Nick no longer has a
Could be
leg.
a short legacy game. Yeah.
That was good.
What's going on gaming with you, my friend?
Oh yeah, we're doing a lot of games still at the house here. Still doing a lot of family games. Trying to get more into character games. I've introduced the kids for the first time to D&D and games about that. Yeah.
Started nasty.
Yeah. So I know. For Christmas, Landis, the 9-year-old got. It's just a straight up tabletop board game. But made by Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons and Dragons, Adventure Begins or Beginner Adventure or something like that.
Yeah. I've heard of it. Yeah.
And I've got it, and we've played it.
Yeah. So pretty straight up tabletop version of the D&D archetype. Actually, what's funny is Landis thought it was overly simple. He was like, I don't like that the characters are actually that different. Like because he's familiar with the tropes of like, the wizards are supposed to be squishy and throw fireballs, and the knights are supposed to have, a lot of armor and take the beating and stuff like that. And so it was kind of funny that he was like snobbing at how simple it was. Like, the characters weren't different enough.
That's what you get for introducing your kids to Twilight Imperium 4th edition so early in life.
Get too heavy too quick. Yeah.
Now, I did feel that way about Adventure Begins. We played it. We took the boys camping about a month ago, and we played it with Brett at the farm over at the LZ Bravo, which we're heading to this weekend for more camping and more board games. But you're right; it is very light. It's a good introduction to how to be, and this is what I liked about it. Nick, tell me what you thought. It's not just an introduction to how to play D&D like as a player. It also allows you to dabble in the role of the dungeon master. What'd you think of that, Nick?
Yes, that was the actual takeaway that was fun, was the two parts. One, the game encourages you to explain what you're doing. So, like, you might have your character's special ability might be called, trick shot, and you're supposed to figure out, like, explain to the rest of your party, I'm using the rope in my bag to, like, fling around the branch and hit the bad guy or whatever it is. And then on top of that, it gives you the round robin style. The round robin style, you take turns being the DM. And so whenever it was Landis' turn to be the DM, he liked that actually as much as anything else. Reading the card, explaining the scenario, seeing the monster that was going to come out next.
Playing as the monster, right? So he gets to play the role of the monster against the party. Yeah, what you're missing here is Robert not shaking
I'm
his
shaking
head.
my head. Get your story out of my game. Give me game mechanics. Yeah.
On that one, you get an achievement for teaching young children to be game masters.
Yeah, I could go with that. Yeah.
Every round the game master changes, so each player it goes around the table.
Okay.
And then so this turn you might be the dungeon master. You draw an event card and then you read it out to the players.
Sure.
You're going to roll some dice behind your screen to see what happens and who gets attacked. Right, and then it rotates to the next player. I love how they did that, kind of teaching kids the other side of it, which they probably will never get to experience as a young child, the Dungeon Master piece, because they might want to do that more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are certainly some board games that do.
That's the DM screen, Robert.
No.
Yeah, that do like one versus the group, a la Scotland Yard or something. But that's different. That's still different. Still a competitive. The role of the DM is actually in games like Dungeons and Dragons is kind of unique, where you get to be the game, right? And that is cool. That's fun. I have been a DM once in my life back in my college days, and I admit I had more fun being the DM than I did playing my friend's campaign, which is also fun though.
That's a thing.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun.
Great topic on that one. What else did you get him to play?
So we've done, here, this is great. I am very excited about this. We picked up My Little Scythe. I know that you're a fan of that.
Yeah.
Kids for the
I've loaned that one out a few times. Every time a buddy of mine comes over and says, I got, 9-year-old, 8-year-old kid. I'm like, take this with you.
Yeah, I think we first played that at Dice Tower Con, about 3 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, and that, I think it does a very nice job of truly being a little scythe. And we've done the Fenris campaign. Scythe is one of my top games, if not actually. It is, for a while, it was easily my favorite game that I didn't own back when I didn't own it. And then, honestly, I bought it because it was just, stupid. It's stupid that I don't own this just to have it on my shelf almost. Just because, it's probably, if time is not a concern, TI4 hits the table. But honestly, if there's any focus on, I really want to play 2 hours or less, then Scythe is it for me. I just love it.
Well, if you're a fan of Scythe, and especially if you have kids, My Little Scythe is almost a must buy. So yeah.
I think it gives me the feel of Scythe.
It's Scythe light. Yeah, for sure.
Except for I'm throwing pies.
Yeah, exactly. You're not beating plowshares. You're making pies and desserts. Yeah.
I think I saw pictures, Nick. You guys are painting up miniatures. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. That's another thing I do enjoy. I'm a novice painter at best. At least play one on YouTube, and I love though that this is one of the first games I've seen that comes with a painting guide for its miniatures. Like it literally called it painting guide. All it is pictures of the minis and what it suggests. But
sure. Yeah.
I dig that. So I have indeed grabbed 3 of the sets, so 6 minis, primed them, and have started painting the first set. Yep, it's good.
Have you picked up the expansion?
No.
Me neither.
But we have 3 games in, and we're still loving it. And I am in a mode where I'm trying to play the games I have and enjoy the games I have, and not feel the need. I'll tell you what, and this is a whole other topic maybe for another night. I own expansions that then we end up not using because it's almost more trouble than it's worth. Not that I'm saying My Little Scythe. I don't know anything about that expansion, but like one that we play all the time at the house, 5-Minute Dungeon. So we have 5-Minute Dungeon, and then we have 5-Minute Dungeon foiled again, or Curses foiled again. The expansion for it adds a new playable character, and it adds harder cards to the monster deck. And we did it twice, and then it's we're good. No thanks. So I actually am very not suspicious of expansions, but I want to make sure that I need them.
Yeah, you got to get the right ones. I mean, there are certain games that I would say, I played an expansion and then it becomes a must play. I mean, you just automatically throw it in, you mix it in every time. It kind of goes in seamlessly, or maybe it adds a mechanic that makes the game just a little better.
Fixes something.
I was going to say some of the expansions fix something that may have been slightly wrong with the game. But then there are, like you say, there are expansions that are just, it feels like it's just extra, unneeded, doesn't really add anything to the gameplay. And so, yeah, definitely I think trying to do as much research as we can on those kinds of things and find out which ones really do what we want an expansion to do is important. So
I think for me, I echo what Nick is talking about with not getting the expansions to the table. But my reasoning is I always feel like I'm teaching somebody the game. There's so many people that I'm introducing to gaming. There's always someone who's never played that game at that table. Very rarely do we ever get a game going of a game I love where someone isn't new to it.
Sure.
So it's like adding the expansions just doesn't feel right unless it's like Prelude for Terraforming Mars or the Champions of Midgard Valhalla expansion. Right. Those are like things that I'll never take away.
Just more of the same stuff for the most part, although I would say Valhalla fixed something in the game that needed to be fixed.
Now, I take it out when I play with the kids.
Okay.
So because it makes it easier for them.
Sure, it's one thing less to have to remember to do. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. All right, Nick, on the topic, any thoughts about newbie mistakes in tabletop gaming? Anything that you've experienced as you got into gaming, or the advice you'd want to give to a new person joining our hobby world of gaming?
Don't buy an expansion before you play the base game.
There you go. Yeah. Enough said. Yeah, enough said.
That's a spending habit thing there.
That's smart.
Actually, kind of related to the character-driven games, and one of my favorite category of games. It shows up a lot in heavier games, but you can find it everywhere. Is in asymmetric games. So there's a lot of asymmetric games out there. Not playing the character the game has given you is kind of a newbie mistake, right? So
sure.
I'll use a heavy game as a penultimate example, TI4. But you can find in any asymmetric game, you can find this kind of thing here, or even here, 5-minute dungeon, super light, right? In 5-minute dungeon, if you're the wizard, make sure that you are keying up those magic bombs and using them appropriately. And when there are spells needed, when there are the blue cards needed, you need to be playing those, cycling through your deck. That is your job, and you should do that. And if you're sitting there throwing those away and discarding those, like if you have an ability to discard 3 cards to stop time, and you're constantly discarding your blue cards, well, that's your job, is to have those blue cards, right? Yeah. So don't play that way. And in TI4, like I was talking about, if you're the turtles and you decide to go on a warpath, you're basically playing it wrong. And I hate to say that because it's your game and you do what you want, but the game has given you a recipe that you could follow if you wanted to, and if you do, I think it'll be more fun. And a lot of folks don't kind of lean into that. They say, this is my play style, this is how I play the game, and that's fine, that's good. Rob and I have talked about that before. It's your game, you do it. But I think it is more fun in an asymmetric game to be asymmetrical. Lean into that, right, and do what you're supposed to. Scythe is actually another good example there. If you're Polonia and you never go after encounters, what are you doing with your life?
Right.
That kind of thing. So,
and since one thing I would say, kind of building on that as well, is some games will even recommend starting classes or starting players or starting characters you should use that are maybe a little more basic, a little more elementary, a little more learning type characters, or depending on the different scenario. But I would say a lot of people, probably as you were saying, if they're new to the game, they want, I want to do this one that looks cool, or this one that does this, or this one that does that, and they may be a little more complicated, but it may turn somebody off on a game if they play and they jump in too deep, and then they find out, this is maybe more than what I bargained for. This game's too hard. It's too complex. But I would say follow the recommendation of the manufacturer, of the designer. If they tell you that, hey, this is probably a good one to play for your first game, I would lean into that as well and heed that advice and get a game or two under your belt, and then maybe try to step up and play the more complex character or something like that. So,
Agreed.
Yep.
TI4 says play with, the Federation Soul, Extra Kingdom, and, the cat people. Ay, Dios mío. Hakan. The Emirates of Hakan. For a reason, because it introduces you to the main, like, different types or experiences, right? You're going to see it from completely different races.
Sure.
Right, and get a better idea of how the game plays. So that's a great tip. Stick to the manufacturer recommendation.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. There you go.
Well,
my hot take.
Speaking of that, we will soon be playing Twilight Imperium 4th Edition with the Prophecy of Kings, myself.
Couple weeks, yeah.
Robert.
I'll meet on that. Yep.
Nick. And then
Dan over at your turn.
Dan Erzik from your turn.
Yep. We're
going to introduce Dan to TI4 for the first time.
Yep.
And then the two of you will get to play Prophecy of Kings for the first time.
Yep.
So I'm super excited about meeting up with you guys on that.
Yep.
Love it. Well,
thanks
Very good. Hey, thanks for taking the call, guys.
Yeah, thanks for calling in.
Thanks for the call.
We'll talk to you soon, Nick. All right, bye.
All right, folks, that opens up our line again, 813-618-7099, our one single line.
Our line.
As
Yeah,
Robert
we're
would say.
going to harp on that, the line. So we got Paleo up if you want to try to jump back over to that.
Yeah, let me pull up the Paleo on the screen so you guys can see what we're talking about here.
Tell us how that plays.
So William and I play Paleo. Paleo being a cooperative adventure game is the way they call it. It's card-driven, so you're using cards. And what you're going to do in the game is you're advancing the story of your tribe. So you're working together, and you have a group of these Neanderthal or early humans.
Sure.
And you live in a cave. And that's your base camp. So you got your base camp. You got a tool bench, right? So there's this tool bench at the top of the board, and it's got different tools on there. And it's like it reminds me of kind of like the Everdale tree.
Okay, yeah.
Is that right? So it's like this up-down vertical board that holds cards, and these cards have ideas for different types of crafts you can make.
Okay, I see it in the picture here. Yep.
Yeah. And in the game, you're going to use those crafts to get certain icons to meet certain objectives.
Okay.
Those objectives allow you to succeed at events. So what's going to happen in the game, there's going to be this combined deck in the center of the board, and the deck is going to have different types of events that are going to occur. So we're going to split that deck between the two different players. Each player controls a group of these humans that live in this one community inside this cave.
Okay.
So I have a group of humans and you have a group of humans.
Sure.
And we're going to divide this deck of events amongst each other. And then what we're going to do is draw or reveal 3 of the cards from the top of each of our decks without looking at the face of the card, just the back of the card. All the backs are different. Some backs have like a river scene. Some backs have a forest scene. Some backs have mountain. Some backs have this red thorn danger scene, right? Some backs have a dream scene. So it kind of gives you an idea of what might be on the face of that card based on the back of the card. I know that on the river scenes, I'm going to tend to find food, right? On the forest scenes, I'm going to tend to find wood and food, right? So I'm going to use wood. I'm going to use food. I'm going to use stone, which stone I can find in mountains for the most part, to be able to succeed at different events, the actual resources that I'll get from those areas. So you take one of those 3 cards, you decide which one you're going to use, you're going to flip it over. And simultaneously, we'll flip the event we're doing.
Not knowing what's on the other side. Yep.
Not knowing.
Yep.
But I might say, listen, I know I'm going to do this mountain one because it's not only does it have the mountain scene, but there's a woolly mammoth on it. And I know that we need to win this game. The objective said we have to do our cave drawing. And in order to get the victory points, 5 of them, I believe it's 5 or 6, to meet the full cave drawing, each time you get a victory point, you get to put part of the cave drawing on the wall.
Looks like 5, yep.
Yep, like 5. And I know that a woolly mammoth, if we get a woolly mammoth, that's one of our 5 objectives that we need to build our cave drawing.
Okay.
So I might say to you, hey, Robert, I'm going to do the mountain with the woolly mammoth on it, but I might need your help because I don't have enough strength, right? I don't have enough spears, effectively, to attack this woolly mammoth on my own. I might need your group to come help me because maybe my group is a bunch of gatherers.
I don't know if you mentioned fully cooperative here, right?
Fully cooperative.
Fully cooperative. Okay, so
Full co-op.
we're entirely invested in helping each other. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
And so I might say to you, you might want to take the forest one, right? Because you see the 3 of your backs. We can each see. Because if it's something light and easy for you,
I can help you.
you can help me instead of doing that, right? So it's this weird sense of like working together.
Now, am I able to split? Am I able to try to do mine and then if I pay extra help you? No?
So whenever you flip your card, it's usually going to give you 3 options. It's
Okay.
either going to be A, do this, meet these criteria, and then you get this reward. B, meet this criteria, which is a little bit harder, but get better rewards. Or C, help someone else.
Okay.
So you put your card into the discard pile, and then you use your people's, because you're going to have a different group of people than I am, and their symbols, which represent their skill sets, to help me meet my skills that I need. Right. So it's a balance, but then we share the reward.
Okay.
Right. So if we get 6 food from killing a woolly mammoth, that goes to the group, right?
Okay.
But then it might say you get 2 pelts, right? So I'm going to give you the pelts, Robert. You help me, I'll give you the pelts.
Okay.
And you can use the pelts to, not take a wound later, to prevent a wound to your people later. So it's this balance of helping each other while getting through the deck. Where it gets hard is a lot of the cards are going to have some events, like mountain events that have a rock slide, right? So that one's not going to give you a good option. It's going to be either A, discard 2 cards from your deck, or B, take a wound. Right? So there's no and there's no help option. You can't ignore it to help me. So you're going to have these events happen to you where you're going to have to discard cards or make sure you have the right amount of different skills in your tribe, in your community, to be able to beat that objective. Like there's a one for the wolves, right? So when it comes to the wolves attacking, it says discard 2 torches. Well, if you didn't have enough lumber earlier in the round to build torches, because you got to go craft them, so you need to take an action at base camp to craft that torch, right? Then you're not going to have the torches you need, and the wolves attack you, and you take 2 wounds. Okay. Now, anything you don't defeat in those cards goes to the discard pile. Most of these bad things, when you defeat them, they go to the graveyard. The graveyard is out of the game, right? It doesn't come back. Okay. So we're going to go through this whole day session where during the day, we're going through all these different events together as a group. And we're seeing what kind of stuff is going on in the story. And the modules seed the story. This is where the adventure comes in. It says, hey, take from this group of cards and add them to your deck. Take these 2 secret cards and put them in your secret objective, right? And as we go through the game, we start to learn what the secret objective is. Like our secret objective was to get the baby woolly mammoth. Like, oh, we can do that.
No problem.
Right? No problem. So that card then, when we found that secret objective, because we had to go to a certain place. Okay. And we had to meet the objective. And then we got to look at the secret objective card and then place that secret objective card in our deck. Then and then at nighttime, what happens with all these cards is anything that we've discarded goes to the discard pile. We're done with our deck. It's over. Anything that we put to the graveyard is out of the game forever, right? We never see it again. And then at the nighttime is when we have to meet the objectives for the day. Not secret objectives, but regular objectives. Gotcha. So our objectives for this game happen to be have a tent. So every night we have to build a tent. So we have to actually get 2 pelts and 2 wood throughout the course of the day. And then take an action to go to the base camp to craft said tent. But in order to craft, we have to have people that A, have the crafting skill, or B, we have to go craft some tools that's going to help us craft. So we're having to do these things to get the crafting necessary, to get the pelts. Got to go kill something to get the pelts necessary, to then get the lumber. Got to go to the forest to get the lumber. And now we're going to go to the base camp. We're going to build our tent.
Sounds like theme. Yeah.
Lots of theme.
Lots of theme.
So then you get to the end of the day, and at the end of the day is when you meet those objectives. You don't, you take a skull. 5 skulls, you lose the game.
Game's over.
Right, so there's 2 objectives at the end of the night that we had to meet. One was have a tent, and the other one was have, I believe it was like two lumber or something, or 2 pelts. So 2 pelts and 2 tents, I think is what the objectives were. But you also have to feed your people. So for every person in my group and every person in your group, we've got to take food away from, let me put the phone number up here for you folks, from the community food pile. So we have to go get food right before nighttime so we can feed everyone and then do our objectives. And then now we go back to daytime, Rob. So we did all that. What we do is all those cards that you and I discarded that we either did or didn't do, right? We then, things that we didn't defeat are in that discard pile. So we know those bad things are going to come back up. Right? The snake, he's coming back. Right? The wolves, he's coming back. So we shuffle them all back up. And this new secret objective. Shuffle them all back up, put them into the deck, and then we deal them out to each other all the way through to that whole deck. And then we go through again, looking at only the backs of the cards. We draw 3.
Just 3 at a time.
Pick 1, resolve it. Draw the next 3, pick 1, resolve it, until we're both drawn through our deck again. But then this time, we We did finally kill the little baby woolly mammoth.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then it caused a stampede and we lost a whole bunch of people.
Good and bad.
There's the adventure piece. So I when Will brought it to me, I was like, oh, okay, Will.
Yeah.
He was super excited.
Oh, yeah.
Like he had me pick it up for him at Armada when I was there.
Yeah. It's been hard to find, I think. It's been a lot of buzz about it.
He said, hey, call me if it's there. Call me if it's there. So I called him and I said, yeah, it's here. And he called the shop. He paid them over the phone.
Cool.
And he told them to hand it to Carlos.
Cool.
So, and then we got to play it. I will say I'm very happy with it. Some of the things that you can do, Rob, like have a dream, right? When you have a dream, it gives you ideas and you can pull from the idea deck. And then one of those ideas goes onto the bench, right? So now you got a new tool that you can create that's going to help you either kill stuff or craft stuff or find stuff, right? You can have a dream that gives you a location of an animal, so that's actually a card, right, with an animal on it, like a wild boar or something. And now that goes into the deck, so that next day's phase, we're going to shuffle through that and maybe find that animal again.
Cool,
right? So it had this real cool story element. There's, I think, I'm going to say 8 different modules.
Okay, so it changes up. They're not all...
You grab 2 modules at a time, put them in together, and then you add them to the deck, and those are the 2 objectives that are part of that story. So you can go through the modules as factory recommended.
Sure.
But then at the end, you can just start mixing and matching.
Yeah, sure.
Harder or easier. You're gaining new tribe people, bringing them to your tribe. You're spending wounds on them.
Okay.
Right, to almost like resources, right? You're trying to spread out the damage so you don't kill anyone, because anytime one of your people die, it becomes a skull. Remember, 5 skulls, you lose the game.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you don't meet your objectives at night, you don't feed your people, you're getting skulls. You don't meet your objectives, you're getting skulls. Your people die, you're getting skulls, and that's how you lose the game.
And did you say the modules are vary in difficulty? So
yes.
Okay. So you could play an easier game or a harder game depending on how you want to make it. So.
Yeah. So they start with the smaller modules. The earlier letters are easier to work on.
Okay.
The later letters are more complex. Later letters.
Say that 5 times twice. Yeah.
There's more objectives, and there's more like paths. Like you have to go here to do this, to then get this, to then meet that objective.
Okay. So you're going to have to be more efficient in what you're doing. Yeah.
I have a feeling the animals are going to get bigger too, because I mean we had to fight a old woolly mammoth. Didn't take a lot of people to kill him.
It said old, so
it did.
You know a young is coming or a
right, and then a bull.
Mature.
The bull woolly mammoth came out, and he was like, "Oh, we don't have enough power to fight him. Let's ignore him."
Gotcha.
So you can choose to ignore the card and kind of step away.
Back away.
Yeah, but then some of the cards don't let you ignore, like the python or the wolves. The snake, the bad stuff, you can't ignore.
Got to face it.
Yep, you have to face them and you take wounds. So that's Paleo, full co-op adventure game by Zman Games.
Cool.
I give it kudos.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up.
But that was just the beginning of our night.
Yeah.
After that, we did Marvel United. Took me a little while to get this one to the table. Marvel United, and it's a light 30-minute cooperative game, fully co-op. Marvel-themed board game by Cool Meaning or Not.
Sure.
And they did a Kickstarter for it, but I got my version at Walmart.
Okay, yeah.
So I saw it at Walmart. I picked it up, played it with my son, and William actually brought my 9-year-old into this one.
Okay.
Because he wanted to play a game, so William and I and him played, and we did 30 minutes. It was us versus Red Skull. I played the role of Hulk. My son Gabriel was Iron Man, of course, and William was Venom. He got to play the role of Venom. And what I really liked about this cooperative game is it's so simple to teach.
Okay.
It's as simple as play a card, do the actions on the card.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
Right? But what makes it cool and fun is after I play a card, Robert, you get to go because you're left of me. Mm-hmm. You play your card, you get to do the actions on your card and the actions on my card. So this is what's called the storyline.
Sure.
So then what's going to happen is as we go, each player is going to be playing a card and getting to do the card of the person in front of them. So if we together can discern that, you know what, I want to punch something in the face, Rob, because I'm Hulk. That's what I do. I punch stuff in the face, right? But I know that if I can get you to move to a certain place and then you'll punch better than I will.
Okay.
Right? Then I'm just going to have to play my double move card. Because I know that'll give you 2 moves for you. Because you'll be like, no. If you got some moves, I got this cool card, and I can like wallop, Red Skull and finish it. We win the objective. So it adds that that working together piece.
Okay.
That's I wasn't sure where the united word came from.
Okay.
Now I understand.
It's all open information. There's nothing hidden. You
No,
can
your
talk about
cards
everything.
are yours.
Okay.
You can talk about it.
Okay.
But you don't show them.
Okay.
And then after each time we go around, the bad guy will go. Red Skull will go. And almost like in Thanos, right? So Thanos Rising,
Right.
there are locations, and he will move, in a circle around the board to different locations. He will activate actions on that location, right? And he will do bad stuff to us. His henchmen will punch us. He will do bad stuff to us. He'll put more thugs on the board. He'll take out civilians. And our goal is, before we can attack him, we have to beat 2 out of the 3 missions on the board. One of the missions is get rid of threats. Threats are those location cards, right? So there's usually a threat on a location. It could be a villain. It could be something we have to, deactivate or stop, right? So it just depends on the villain we're playing against. Then there's the second mission is save this number of civilians. And then the third mission is defeat this number of thugs. So as we're moving around the board, we start the game by trying to defeat thugs, save civilians, and stop threats. Right? That's our initial objectives.
Okay.
Once we beat one of those objectives, the bad guy, the villain, Red Skull in this example, will now go after every 2 turns. So after you go and I go, he'll go. So instead of after 3 of us go, he goes. It's after
2?
After every 2.
Ah.
And then what happens after the second mission is defeated is we can now actively attack the villain. So before we couldn't go to his location and punch him. We could only punch his henchmen and do other things to stop him. Now we can actually go beat him up, and that's how we win the game.
Gotcha.
But it played in like 30 minutes.
That's what I've heard. It's been short, quick, easy to pick up, easy to learn, and a family weight game. I know it says here on BGG, I guess it's rated at 14 and up, but they said community says 8 and up. So
yeah,
8-year-olds, 9-year-olds.
I think it's 14 and up, so they don't swallow the venom models.
Yeah. Don't hurt themselves on the on the little pieces, but.
The chibiness of it, I thought it would turn me off, but the artwork on the cards was cool. So funny, so sweet.
Oh, yeah.
It made it fun to play. And the locations were cool.
And the content that's coming, I know that's the thing I keep hearing about. Everybody says, yeah, the base game's fun, and it's got enough in it to keep you busy for a little while, but it's all the future content, the Kickstarter stuff that's eventually going to be rolling out that people are wanting more missions. They're wanting more bad guys, more heroes, more stuff, more of this game is what I keep hearing. So I know a lot of people are looking forward to that, and I'm guessing you'll be on board for picking up some of that stuff when it comes out as well. But
if it's at Walmart,
yeah. I don't know what
I don't know if they'll do expansions at Walmart.
I don't know what the retail plan is going to be. I was just going to say that. I'm not sure
because you know me, I'm not a Kickstarter guy. I tried to stay away from the Kickstarter world. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
Somebody just commented, what an impressive wall I have here. This is why I don't do Kickstarter, because I find that it just would be too easy.
Yeah. Yeah, and it would get expensive. I mean, just all that stuff through Kickstarter. I'm always on a kind of wait and see has been my approach. I haven't jumped in early with just about anything. I'm usually a play it first kind of guy, and then maybe pick it up on discount after it's been out for a couple of months. But
I say with this one, the base set is perfectly fine.
Yeah,
because with the people I'm going to be playing with, the idea of adding more, this is not the kind of game I'm going to look for a campaign.
Sure.
It's just not. If I'm going to play a campaign of something,
you'll get into something heavier or something
right?
different.
Something meaty we can really get into.
Yeah.
This is something I want to be able to throw on the table, get 30 minutes out of it, enjoy it with family, friends, and put it back away. Save it for another day. Start painting too.
Sure.
I got called out on that by David Carlton.
I saw that on our game group. Yeah.
He said it would be more fun if it was painted.
And then he showed all his painted minis. So.
Yeah, show off.
Yeah, he's good at it. So I kudos to David. But
he's very dedicated to his craft.
Yeah, I'm sure he spent.
There's some painted models, right? You had shown some earlier.
Yeah.
All right. So what about you, Rob? What else have you gamed?
Well, the most recent thing last night, me and Nick, who called in, and Joe played a little bit more of Gloomhaven, the Forgotten Circles expansion that we're working on, and we've now played, I believe it's 6 or 7 scenarios out of that. We ran into one that for the first time in a long time, after playing through all of the base game content, for the first time in a long time, we ran into a scenario that we played and lost twice. And after the second playthrough, we weren't even close. We were only about halfway through beating.
This is the expansion?
This is expansion. So we were only about halfway through it. We haven't had a scenario kick us like that in a while. And so we decided to put that scenario aside, and we have moved on to a little bit different a branch. And so it was laid out that we could choose one of 4 scenarios to do. We eventually have to beat all 4 of them, but we could do them
you
in
need
any
to go
order.
find some items, go level up, get some strength.
And that's exactly what we're doing. We decided we're going to go to a different one that looked a little easier, and actually we played it last night. The cool thing last night we ran into, I'm not going to give any spoilers away, but we ran into a scenario that did something unique. It's something that we've played, gosh, if I wanted to guess at how many scenarios, after going through the whole base game and then a little bit here and then the few that I've played in Jaws of the Lion, I've played probably 60 or 70 different scenarios, and this one was unique. So this...
What's the name of the expansion?
It's called Forgotten Circles.
Okay, that's the expansion to it, Forgotten Circles.
Right. Yep. And so this one, this scenario we just played had a little bit different mechanic, a little bit of a puzzle aspect to it. We were having to solve a little bit of a puzzle to warp from different areas. Again, not giving away really any spoilers, but to warp to different rooms, and we had to beat all these different rooms and beat all the bad guys. And so it was kind of cool. There was things where we made the wrong choice. We warped back around to the start, and then we had to go through several steps to get back to where we were.
Kind of like a Tomb Raider feel to it.
Yeah, and there was
Lara Croft,
There was penalties every time you warped back to a room that you had been in. You took a everybody in the group took a damage, and so
wrong turn.
Yeah, it started wearing you down. So, but it was fun. It took us about 3 hours to play this scenario for the 3 of us, which is it's a little on the longer side. We've been tackling.
This is the one you lost?
About 2 and 2.5. No, this is the one we won.
Okay, this is the one you
won.
won.
We won this one last
God,
night.
losing 2-3 hour scenarios, man.
Oh no,
that's a game of TI4.
Yeah, the scenario before we lost was a good 2.5 hours probably each play. We lost it twice, and so we set that one aside. But again, the idea was let's go do something a little lighter, a little that we can tackle, that we can level up, get some more equipment, come back to this one when we're ready. So we were the way the game works is the monsters go up a level for every 3 levels of the combined levels of the characters, and so we were at the lowest levels we could be for the monsters we were fighting. But again, back to Gloomhaven. So we had spent a lot of time on that other scenario, and like I said, we were at the lowest level we could be for that level of monster. So I believe this last game we played, both Nick and Joe leveled up a level. So we are now kind of more where we should be for the level of monsters that we're fighting. So I think we're going to do one more scenario because we can afford one more level up before we have to circle back. So we're going to do one more scenario, and then we're going to circle back and then probably try that scenario again. And hopefully we'll be prepared this time to take it out. But one thing about Gloomhaven is when you play any of the scenarios the first time, and we've tried to be pretty good about this, is that we don't reveal what's coming until we get to it. And so the first time we play a scenario, there's a lot of surprises. We're not trying to figure out the absolute optimal path to do things. I mean, we're kind
of having fun with it.
Right. We're kind of stumbling through it a little bit. Again, we're pretty serious about, we don't try not to replay scenarios if we don't have to, but we are playing it honest. We don't skip scenarios or anything like that. We play it till we beat it. But so the first time we played, I'd say, again, we only got about halfway through it, and we had some bad draws. We got beat down early, and we knew kind of right off the bat that we weren't going to have what we needed to complete the scenario. The second time, the first half of the scenario was kind of broken into 2 rooms, 2 halves. The first half, everything went perfectly right. We just stormed through it, but when we opened that door and revealed the other room, we were wholly unprepared for what was in that next room, and so we were feeling pretty good about ourselves the first half, and then we just got creamed in the second half of the scenario. So again, the game adds, there's enough luck in the game, and you've played Jaws of the Lion, I should say.
Yep.
So you know enough about the game that there can be some luck. There can be some good card draws. There can be, some lucky, there's no dice in the game, but the cards can come in certain ways that can hurt you or help you. So it's possible that you may, if you get all...
Hey, we got a caller coming in. Let's see who this one is.
Okay.
Hey, caller, state your name. Where are you calling from?
What's up, fellas? It's Will.
Hey, Will.
What's going on, man? Sorry, I've been doing some work from home.
Cool.
I forgot the show was on today.
Oh, no problem.
No, thanks for calling in.
Thanks for calling in.
What do you got going on?
Yeah, I was just Oh no, that was just I literally chimed in our last call. And I was like, no, I can't let the show end like that. That's just bad.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for picking us up. Yeah,
we did talk Paleo.
Yes. I think that'd be a great game for Rob to play and us to play. It's got a really good and themey mechanic to it. Literally.
You're turning them off. Stop talking about team.
Don't say theme. But how many players does it play? How many is the max?
No, not theme. Don't say theme.
I believe up to 4.
Up to 4.
No, I think Rob would lie. I think he would. I mean, when you kill a baby mammoth and then the stampede comes piling through you guys, it kind of fits the storyline.
Okay. It does.
Cool.
It felt good.
So,
and like I said, I told Rob, I did tell Rob, I wasn't excited about playing it, but as we continued playing, I was like, I really feel this.
I got excited, yeah.
But then there's so much game in it, right? Game mean to it that I immediately said Rob's gonna like this one because I know you like co-ops.
Yeah. I'm a fan of co-ops.
Yeah, it's got like 10 modules in there, so we've only done 2 because you mix and match them, and we only basically did like the tutorial module. Mm-hmm. So it gets a little bit more challenging, a little bit more thinky, I think, as you go along. So,
is there a one-player version of it, or I mean, any co-op you could really play one player? I guess you could play 2.
Yeah, I think you can actually play. Actually, I think there's one-player version for this, and I may actually specifically be something in there for it. I haven't really gone through it.
Okay,
I was more interested in getting it to the table and playing with someone else and see how it was.
We literally read the rules together.
Okay.
And set up together and learned it together and then played it. Kind of like we do at Dice Tower.
Sure.
Where we pick up a game, learn it together.
Okay.
It was definitely something that I'm glad I purchased.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing. I definitely want to try it. As I mentioned, I don't know if you heard this earlier, but it's a game that's had a lot of buzz lately. I've heard a lot about it on the forums and heard about it online, and I've seen a couple of reviews. I had not seen a gameplay through of it yet, so I wasn't sure exactly how it worked, what all the mechanics were, but it does sound like it's something...
I would say the reason why you probably don't see a lot of people play it because there are spoilers.
Oh, okay.
You definitely can spoil things.
Gotcha.
Because there's something called secrets.
Okay.
Within the game, and really one of the secrets was when a baby mammoth came up. Me and Carlos decided, should we kill it? Yeah, let's kill it.
Yeah, we say kill it.
And then we killed it, and then it tells you to reveal a secret, and that secret was now you guys have to avoid a stampede.
Okay.
So,
we did not have the ability to avoid the stampede.
Gotcha.
It took us.
So
we didn't. So we didn't.
You don't want to know what all those outcomes are, so you have a little bit of a surprise then. So
but it's cool because we also got an idea, right, and we learned how to make a burial site. And when we learned how to make a burial site, we can now, using wood, stone, we were able to craft a burial site and take one of the skulls off the track, remember 5 skulls into the game, and bury it.
Okay.
So it kind of gave us a life back. So that's what I mean by it's cool. Like I can see like these people getting ideas like, oh, well, how about if we take the dead bodies out of the cave and bury them? Maybe we'll be healthier.
Gotcha.
It's like that.
What was it? One of your kids came up and he was looking at it and he really was interested as well. He was like, yeah, I think he can tackle the game just no problem.
Right, because my 9-year-old came up, right, and because it's a lot of symbology. I don't say a lot. I mean, it is symbology. The game is all symbols.
Okay.
There's very few words in it. He looked at the symbols and he's like, oh, because he's Minecraft. These kids all grew up on Minecraft.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So he says to me, oh, so if you use that piece and that piece, you can craft that. Right, and it just because it all makes sense.
It's intuitive, yeah.
And I love that about games. Games where things are intuitive, where they make sense.
Yeah.
Where theme and mechanics come together in a way that makes sense.
Yeah. It looks like the box says 10 and up. Community on the BGG says 10 and up. So it looks like it's another family weight game. It's 2.6 out of 5 on the weight, 8.0 so far on BGG. This is a new release. I mean, this one's just come out, I'd say, in the last couple of months, if I remember correctly. So
I've never heard of it.
Yeah. So this is
until Will said, "Can you pick it up for me?"
No.
Yeah, he was at our local shop, Armada, and I was like, you know what? Let me pull the trigger on it. Let me go ahead and get it. And he didn't even know what it was.
Nope.
Cool. And let's see, designer Peter Rustmeyer from Hans and Gluck, it says, is the publisher on the game. So I know they're a company that they've got several games that I like, so that's cool. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to playing.
I like the idea of crafting. Right, that's always a fun theme or idea in a game because it makes you feel like you built something.
Sure. Yeah. Cool.
Any tips, William? Any tips for newbie gamers, right? Mistakes that newbie gamers make that you want to bring up?
I'm going to probably speak more from my perspective, and
that's what I want.
I'm going to speak as more probably as a conventional thing, or once this whole COVID situation, starts dying off, and we start going back to game shops to play, or I would say, don't be afraid to walk up to a table and ask to play with somebody.
Sure.
Beautiful.
I think newbie gamers, that's probably, for me, that was a big thing, because I really didn't know you guys. I knew of you guys. I seen you in the shop, but it wasn't really until Dice Tower I started hanging out with you. I just went up and said, let me just hang out with these fellas and play games.
Sure.
Here we are like 3 or 4 years later.
And that's what conventions do. And man, I missed.
Oh,
you remember conventions, Robert?
Oh yeah, that's
remember way back when.
Thing of the past. Yeah. Thing of the future. It's a future thing. That
you got people now doing that same thing, but on online. With Tabletop Simulator. The whole don't be just if someone creates a room and you don't want to, the game is interesting, you don't know the people, just jump in.
Yeah. I mean, if they're open up.
Not to mention, one, you'll meet some new people. Two, your thinking may not be what everyone else is used to, so no one's not going to know how to beat you in the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, see how it all came back around to.
It's all about winning. Winning.
There you go, William.
I mean, look, that's the only way we're going to let Nick win now. He has to play with other people, because the whole goal is not to let him win.
That's my number one goal when I come to the table. Yeah. I don't know about y'all.
How about have fun?
And he knows that.
Yeah.
So he knows about that, though, and that just makes him a better gamer, because he's got to work 10 times harder now.
Got to defend that title. Yeah.
I do want to touch on your tip for newbie gamers, in that, folks, you'd be amazed when you're at a convention how welcoming folks are.
Oh yeah.
No, I have never met someone that took it as rude when I asked, "Hey, do you have an open seat?"
Yeah.
Right. I've never been received in an unwelcome manner with that, and it's not easy to do. Mm-hmm. It does. I know, Robert, you went to a few conventions before I ever went solo. You told me your experiences. It's not easy, but honestly,
do it. If the world, if society just walked into a board game convention, just looks how people interact of all different backgrounds, we'll be a much better place.
Oh, yeah. If people treated each other like we treat each other at board game conventions, man, this would be a whole different world.
Yeah. Yeah, and our hobby is welcoming for the most part. There are pockets of the hobby that are not, but
Euro gamers.
Yeah, I'm kidding. Magic players.
No. You gotta get it wrong. It's
I'm
those
kidding.
who eat spaghettios from cans.
No. That's a whole different topic. But
well, William, I want to say thank you for calling.
Yep.
I appreciate you helping us out.
All right.
And I look forward to our next game together.
I want to get back and doing some Friday Night Fights week since we really can get a schedule working. But I'll play anything else until then.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Come on, some more Commands and Colors, man. I'm always down for Commands and Colors. Yeah. I'll see you. I'll see you next time we game.
Okay, I'll see you. All right, take care, guys.
Thanks for calling, Will.
Bye.
Great show. Bye.
All right. So, Rob, I think that takes us to the end of the call-in part of the show.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and turn off the lines. And at this point, we'll give our quick thoughts or tips on newbies. Mistakes, newbie mistakes that in tabletop gaming. You go first while I turn off this line.
Yeah, I didn't have a whole lot of them. I gave a little bit of thought before the show today, but the two things that that jumped to mind to me for new gamers, people new to the hobby, new to the modern gaming industry or the hobby, is one, I think, is being careful not to bite off more than you can chew. And I've seen this happen at a couple different board game shops or cafes that I've been to, maybe even a convention or two, where people who are newer to the hobby or who have played older classic board games might come in and they see something flashy, they see something with pretty models, they see something with pretty cards, artwork, a board game that takes up 90% of the table.
You mean every Kickstarter right now?
Pretty much, yeah. They see something that takes up a big chunk of the table and they think, oh, that looks cool. I'm going to play that game. And then they get it, they set it up, they try to learn it, and it's just the complexity level or maybe the amount of the rules. It's just more than they were bargaining for. And again, unfortunately, that can turn a lot of people off on the hobby, because if that's your first experience, you may think, well, I'm going to go back to Monopoly, I'm going to go back to Clue, I'm going to go back to chess or something that's classic that I know how to play. And so I would say, if for a newer gamer, if you can get some advice, or if you can find somebody to kind of introduce you to some of what we call the gateway games, some of the games that are maybe a little lower complexity, use some basic mechanics, either from some older classic games or some modern mechanics that are on a pared down level that aren't trying to mix 3 or 4 or 5 different things in one game. Exactly. So I would say that's a good tip is to try to find some things that are maybe a little lower complexity. One thing that jumps to mind, I know, again, we mentioned a lot, Your Turn and Dan Erdzik over
Zephyr
Hills. He in his cafe, he stickers, color codes all of his games with little stickers. I think it's green,
like stoplights, green, yellow, blue, red.
Yeah, so he's got some different levels, and he's got a little guide, even though he's got 2,000 plus games there now, just a whole wall of games on one wall of the cafe there. But everything is stickered, and so the little guide tells you if you're a newer gamer, if you're looking for lower complexity, go with the green. That's the good. And so even if someone's afraid to ask for help, again, that's self-help there, being stickered, being labeled, then being able to go in and grab a couple of games, something with light rules, something they can jump into and learn real quick, I think can go a long way in helping bring new gamers in and teaching them some basic mechanics, and then kind of stepping them into more and more complex things as they go. So I think that's important. But
I want to touch on that, because that's a great tip, and I think what even beyond that, like Rob, what we were trying to say here, folks, is gaming needs to be like a step process if you're learning it.
Sure.
We played Brass Birmingham, and I remember walking out of it like, Rob, that was an easy game. I don't know why people call this hard. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
What I forget is I've played so many lighter games with individual mechanics in them. Mm-hmm. Right. So I've played so many deck builders, just deck builders. I played so many push your luck that are just push your luck, or so many games that do something that when I get into a larger game that combines a bunch of different types of mechanics, tools, rules in that game, they've all layered into something easy for me, where I've witnessed this before, I've seen that before, or that's kind of reminds me of that game.
Right.
So learning the rules becomes a snap.
Yep.
But I forget when I introduce someone new to gaming, that they haven't had all those experiences.
It can be overwhelming if you stack 3 or 4 mechanics into somebody who's playing a modern board game for the first time. It really can be overwhelming, and again, then
you turn them off.
It shuts them down.
So start off with something simple, something light, something you've done 100 times, some pandemic stuff, and let them learn the different ways the games are played, and that way you can hit them up with the harder stuff as you go. So that's a beautiful, beautiful tip.
Yeah, it's a good tip.
My tip, mistakes newbie mistakes in tabletop gaming is watch a video.
There you go.
Right? If it's game night and you're going into a game and someone's going to be teaching, someone's offering to show the game, take a moment out of your day. There's so many 15, 20-minute videos that can teach you to play a game on YouTube. Our favorite guy, the guy we all kind of get a little giddy when we see
the guy from up north.
Our northern brethren, Rodney Smith. Watch it played. That's a great place to go. Mm-hmm. But just take a moment, watch one of those videos of how a game is played, so that when you get there, it helps us as teachers of games not have so much pressure to get everything right.
Right.
Because you're going to get something from the video that maybe we forgot to explain, right? And you're going to work with us in teaching that game and you learning that game. So as a newbie player, even if you're just new to a game, just please watch a video, learn a little bit about the context around it, so that when we explain it, it sinks in a little faster and it's more enjoyable for everybody.
And you pretty much stole my thunder. That was my number 2. Is to and it's similar, almost exactly the same, but it's a little different. My thought was on it is to try to learn the game if possible before you play it, because especially if you don't have, like you say, when an experienced gamer is trying to teach it to you. But if you have no experienced gamer or anybody to teach you the game, and you sit down with your spouse or your kids or a couple of friends, and you try to pick up a game and start reading the rules, and again, especially if you're not familiar with game mechanics and you're not familiar with modern board games, number one, the amount of time that you kind of waste trying to learn the game, and then number 2, you're either reading from a rule book to the other people so that you can all try to gather in, and that's boring for the other people that are sitting trying to listen to you and try to all learn the game together. Or you're just reading it silently while the other people, do whatever they're doing. They sit in their seat, twiddling their thumbs, waiting for you to get done, and so that you can teach them the game. But if there's any possibility, if you're playing with other people, especially if you're playing by yourself, I guess not such an issue there. But you can kind of go at your own pace. But if you're playing with other people, you've got to either learn the game ahead of time or find a good way to incorporate sharing the learning experience, I think, so that everybody stays engaged. Otherwise, by the time you get ready to play the game, the other people are probably tuned out. They're probably ready to just be done and go home, and then it puts a bad taste. And again, you could scare somebody off from the hobby for that. So
So those are our tips for newbie mistakes in tabletop gaming.
Yep.
And that was our call-in show for the evening. Another hot track.
Sure.
I can look at it negatively when you get kind of funky call like that.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But I look at the positive side, Robert.
Yeah.
The positive side is somebody was watching.
Somebody felt it was worth calling in.
Right.
Yeah.
I usually feel like I'm just yelling into an empty room, right?
Yeah.
But somebody somewhere out of nowhere decided that it was more fun to call in and make fun of us.
That's all right.
Right?
Yeah, it's a phone call.
But that tells me that we got out there somewhere. Somebody saw us. So
awesome.
Beans and Ice Podcast. I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
And that's how we game. So please subscribe. Follow us on YouTube. Hit the
ring the bell.
The ring the bell.
Yeah,
that's
do
what
all
it is.
those things. Yeah. Because
the goal for Robert and I is to do this every Thursday. We're going to do this every Thursday and hopefully continue to hear from not just our friends that we game with locally. We really want to hear from y'all out there.
Yep.
So next time you call, don't just make fun of me.
Yeah.
How about you? It specifically says the guy on the right.
Well, who's on the right though? I couldn't tell who was on the right.
It was. Tell me about what you're gaming. I don't care what it is. I want to know about what you guys are up to and learn more about gaming. So
we just want to talk about games. Yep.
We want to say thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Have a good night. Be safe. Take care, everybody.
Keep gaming. Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks for watching the Beans and Dice podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.